Today I'm going to explore the concept of check dams and swales and little pocket ponds with you. You can see here we got the last bit of our snow, which is really just where we plow and pushed all the snow, and that's why this big pile is still here. But that's pretty much the last of the snow we have on our property, besides stuff that's tucked in here and there behind us, in the forest. Some small clearings will have it; they're shaded real well. But let's start with check dams. The whole idea of a check dam is not to stop water; it's to slow it and to stop erosion. You commonly find check dams on the sides of freeways and everything else. You'll see where they pile up. Basically, I mean, they're more sophisticated than that, but they'll basically stop erosion by every so often there'll be a check dam that slows the water. It slows it down. Okay, it's not meant to stop it, back it up, pond it. It's meant to slow it down. So let's explore that real. In the spring, we get a lot of runoff that comes down off the mountain here, and we get a little bit more over here as far as drainage is concerned. And then it all kind of gets fed this way. And what we try and do is slow that water as much as possible so that we can either spread it or we let it soak. Okay, so again, check dams is a good technique to be able to do that. It's very simple, it doesn't cost anything, it's a little bit of work, that's it. And then a lot of times what happens is it ends up creating these little pocket ponds. And again, no tons of work here. It's kind of a natural depression area. But before we put in that little check dam right there, this area, I don't know, it might have pulled up just a touch, but not nearly even that much. And then what we do is we just pile a bunch of rocks. We use the materials that are around. We pile up a bunch of rocks, and we're not trying to stop it. We're just trying to slow it. And a lot of times it ends up just being really just kind of one layer of rock that slows it down, so it's going to spread erosion. You might also call this a silt pond. So there's not a lot of silt that's going to continue to go down there. It's going to get kind of backed up in here, and that's a good thing. Again, that's just nothing more than stopping or slowing erosion. You do enough of these, you back up enough water like this, you can really change the dynamics of your property. You can really slow spread and soak water and improve your water situation dramatically. Okay, let me show you another. Here's another example. Again, just a very small check dam that, with materials that whatever happens to be around that area, that's how we build them, just tiny. So these small efforts produce these great effects, and really kind of here. So again, another little pocket pond, and then this water continues. Obviously we're not stopping anything, we're just slowing it down a little bit, and it comes down into our lower pond, and you can see our spillway there. And I use big rocks for spillways. That's what I do. And you can even raise, depending on your inflow and your outflow, you can raise the level of ponds based on just spillways, which is essentially just kind of a check dam. And then we go on into more little check dams, more little ponds, another one down there, down into the lower pond. And it's that simple. All these small efforts lead to really big results. This used to be, when we first got here, this was just a 1 foot wide little stream seasonally that flowed through our property and stopped, period. There was nothing. And look at all the water that we've managed to capture, back up, slow, spread, and soak. And this is kind of a cross view. You can see across this little stream there, that swale we have, and really that's just a tree growing system for us. There's dozens of trees in there. You can't really tell. Nothing's leaped out yet this year. It's kind of a nursery. It's a tree nursery for us. It goes all the way up, basically over to that barn. And then same thing on this side. You can see this one's actually full of water. That goes all the way on the other side of that little ridge. Comes back around here, feeds back into this little seasonal stream area down in the ponds. And then, like I said, that swell on that side. Great little tree growing system for us. We don't have to water nearly as much. We will, if it gets real dry, we'll put some water on, but the swell helps us out with that. I got asked a really good question. It was basically, how do you know if you're slowing water down too much, or how do you know if you're diverting too much water to an area? And that is a great question, and I'm no engineer, but there's a couple of rules of thumb that I follow. Number one is I want to make sure that I'm not destabilizing any particular area. In other words, if I'm going to put so much water in that area that I'm going to destabilize it, that's not good, and you don't want to do that. So that would be the first thing, is not destabilizing an area. And a lot of that has to do with slope. Now, we live on a sloped area, so that is a concern. I'm not going to try and back up water on anything steep at all. That's not a good idea. In fact, I mean, if you just think about the idea of mudslides, you have hillsides collapsing if they get waterlogged. And that's definitely the case. And occasionally, that'll even happen on a treed slope. Now, treed slopes are more stable than untreed slopes for sure, but that it still happens. So you have to consider that. If you have steep slopes, you definitely don't want swales on it and that kind of thing. Shallow slopes, that's fine, in the right site. And then the other thing though is understanding your site. What is your site capable of? What is it going to produce if you back up water, if you slow down water? Most sites can handle more water, and they do well with a little more water in the soil. But some don't. I mean, you might have an area where your main problem is you need to drain water away. Okay, so you have to understand your site. So it's a complicated question for sure, but definitely no destabilization of any sites, not putting water on too steep of slopes, keeping water away from foundations. That's important. So general rule of thumb is if you're going to do rain gardens, if you're going to do ponds or something, you don't want to do that right up within 10-15 feet of your foundation. You want to make sure that area slopes away. So that would be another great tip. That's one general rule of thumb that I follow, is I don't want to collect water next to a foundation or slow it down there. I don't want to destabilize slope. I want to spread water out and soak it in. I want to improve the holding capacity of soil. I want to store water in soil. These are some general principles. And so it's, you can't say there's not one answer to that question, but it's understanding your area, understanding the hydrology of your soil, the water holding capacity, all of that. But that's a great question and should be thought about a lot when implementing water systems, when either considering ponds, considering swales, considering check dams. All that sort of thing is important to consider. All right, there you go. If do me a favor, subscribe to our channel, share this if you would, like it, give us a comment, let us know your thoughts on slowing, spreading, and soaking water. If you have other ideas on how to do it, we'd love to hear it, because we're always looking for ways where we can improve our water situation here, and we'd love to hear from you.